Hello everybody, thanks for joining another episode of Sam's Device Advice. Today we're going to be taking a peek at Google Forms. So this is my chance to nerd out because I am absolutely in love with Google Forms. I use it for way too many things, but it's an incredibly powerful tool. So today we're going to be looking at how to create a form, adding questions, inserting media, how do you customize the look of it, making sure you share this correctly, and also reviewing responses, so what it looks like when you have people completing this. In another video, we're going to look at making actual quizzes that mark themselves in Google Forms and a couple other add-ons that we can look at. But today we're just going to look at the basics. So just as a heads up, if you see my teeth chattering, it's because I had to turn off my furnace. It was too loud and my microphone is picking it up. So instead, I'm sitting in my nice cold basement. So let's go ahead and look at my desktop. So once again, I've opened up my Google Chrome window. I am ready to go. I am signed in up here, so all of my extensions have followed me. Now, a couple ways you can get to Google Forms. Most people will go to your Google Drive. So I'm going to click on my bookmark I've made. You could also use the waffle to get there. Now, in your Google Drive, if I want to create a new form, I'm going to go into the folder where I want the form to be created. Just saves me the organization later. And I'm going to click New. If I bring my mouse down, again, you can see I have my different options for my Google Apps. But if I go to More, Google Forms is here. As with the other Google apps, they do have templates. So if you hover your mouse over here, you'll see a blank form or from templates. And just quickly, we can look at the templates they have available to save you some time. You have exit tickets already made. You have worksheets for yourself. You have quizzes ready to go. But you can actually use this for a lot of things. So whether it's booking a time, if you want to find when everybody's available, RSVP forms, t-shirt signups, take some time and poke through these because a lot of these are just going to save you some time. You're going to want to make something similar to these. So instead of doing them from scratch, you might as well use Google's templates. The other way that you could get to Google Forms, if you type in forms.google.com, same with any other Google apps, you can then go to its own kind of homepage where I could create new forms and gets me right into those tickets. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive though. I like doing it this way. Just gives me a little bit more control of my organization. So I'm going to go to New, I'm going to go to More, and then click on Google Forms. So when Google Forms opens up, it's a really easy program to use actually. So from top to bottom, as always, this is your file name. So this is what the file is going to be called in your Google Drive, which can be connected to your title if you'd like. You may or may not see this little puzzle piece. This is add-ons. So in another video, I'm going to go through some of the add-ons I like to use. They're really just little programs that just give some additional features to Google Forms. The next button here is our customize theme. So you can change the color if you just want it plain and you just want colors. You can actually choose header images if you would like. So you can, if there's a certain style or a certain idea you're trying to get across right off the bat. And if you scroll down, you'll see background colors. And you also have your text style. Now, I will try not to talk too long about fonts because I get worked up about it. But especially for school, try to stick with the basic font. If you're not aware of the research on serifs and dyslexia, a lot of text that, even something that looks simple like this one where it says formal, has what they call serifs, those little additional feet and curls on letters that can make it a little more difficult for students with processing issues or any sort of reading disorder to comprehend. Playful is okay, but I tend to go with basic. It's just easier on students' eyes for the most part. So I can close my theme options here. I have my preview button, which we'll get at later, but that will essentially give you a chance to try your form before you send it out. You have your settings, which we'll look at. This is your send option, so this is how you would get your form to other people. And then again, our three dots is our overflow menu button. So let's go through and start making a quick form. This is just going to be a little survey to ask a few questions here. And then, like I said, in another video, we'll talk about making a quiz out of this. So this form is going to be called Get to Know You. And now that I have this title, I should be able to go up to the top, click on my file name, and it copies it for me automatically. So now my Google Drive will have a form called Get to Know You. So I can add a description if I want to. Please take a moment to answer these questions. You can provide disclaimers if you need to. Whatever you'd like, you can add into that description there. And Google gives you your first question. So all you need to do to add a question or to customize one is click on the title of it. And I'm going to go ahead and ask for your name. So your name. Now you'll see Google automatically switched this from a multiple choice question to a short answer question. So it does a pretty good job of guessing what type of answer you're looking for. But if you don't want that, if it's changed to something you don't like, you can click on this little drop down and it's going to give you your list of question types. So you have short answer and paragraph, multiple choice checkboxes and drop downs. You can actually set this to upload files. So if you have something that you want them to share with you through your Google form, you could do that. I've actually seen businesses use this to have people upload their resumes. You can have a linear scale where they rate something from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, different types of grids, and then dates and times. So to create another question, over to the right, you're going to see this little added bar. If I click the plus, it's going to add a new question. If I click the T, it's going to add title or a description. So I can break up if I want some additional, like a little additional instructions after a question. I can insert an image directly into this as well. I can insert a video and adding a whole section. So that's going to change the page when somebody's taking your quiz, and we'll look at that. So I'm going to ask the next question, and I'm just going to have this say date. And again, Google's going to switch this over to a date question for me. Now you might see when you're making this, if you go to click in here, it won't actually let you set a date or answer a short answer question. That's because we're in the editing phase. Once you send this out, or if I scroll to the top and press the preview, that's when you can actually start answering the questions. But if you find yourself in a spot where you can't click into these boxes, that means you're still editing. So the next question I'm going to have is, it's going to be a multiple choice. So I'll say, please select your homeroom teacher. And then I can do it. It's going to give me a drop down now. Drop down or multiple choice. It doesn't really make a difference. So it wants to use drop down, and I'm going to agree with it. So we're going to say Mr. A, Miss B, Mrs. C, or Mr. D. Okay. So I could keep going and going with these, and all I'm going to do is hit enter, and it's going to bring me my next option, or I could click into where it says add option, and it's going to do that for me. If I want to get rid of an option, I just click the X on the right hand side to remove it. Down below, I can delete this whole question with this trash can. I could copy this question if I have multiple ones in a row that I just need to change the title of the question. And you can choose whether this question is required. This is really handy, depending on your students, just to make sure they can't complete this without giving a question a thought, or giving it a chance at least. And when you hit required, it'll add a little star beside it, which I'll show you afterwards. And you can do that for all types of questions in here. So let me do that. So all three of my first questions are ready to go. So I'm going to add another section. This is essentially giving me my background information on my respondent. So now I'm going to add a new section, and I'm going to have this the get to know you page. So let's call this personal info. So we're going to add some questions here. We're going to do a multiple choice that says, what is your favorite subject? And Google still doesn't know that I'm in Canada because it doesn't like that U in favorite. So now we're in multiple choice, so I can start listing some options here: history, science, math. And you can see it gives you the option to add other, which is nice. So somebody could click this button and type in their own response if you don't feel like typing out every option there. Now for the next one, what I might do is I'm going to add a video, and I'm going to have them watch the video and then respond to it afterwards. So this could be great for a homework assignment, or even on a quiz. You could do this as well. So if I click add video, it's going to bring up a YouTube window. So in this one, I'm going to do, let's say, because who doesn't want to watch one of those on a get to know you video? So I'm going to type in here, please watch this video and answer the question that follows. Okay, and then they will be given the option to watch this. I'm going to click my plus and add another question. And this one I'm going to say, please share your thoughts about the Fall of Rome. Google's figured out that it's probably going to be a longer answer, so it's switched it to a paragraph, and I'm also going to make this required. Yeah, and so you can go on make this as complicated or as short as you want to. This could be a one-question form that you ask students to recap what they learned today. You could ask them to do an entire assignment just through this. And like I said before, this is really handy if you have a substitute in, that you can create an entire lesson plan on here with different links to different websites. You can ask them to go to one website and read a little bit about it, then come back to answer questions. To do that, you would just click on the add title and description. You could paste a link in here and then have them go to that website and then come back. So you have a lot of options when it comes to Google Forms. Then once you are finished, you'll scroll all the way to the top. First, you might want to see what it looks like. So we're going to click on the eyeball preview, and it's going to give us an example, like an actual version of our form. So this is what somebody would see when I send it to them. Again, we have our required questions, so it's going to have the star beside it. I can choose what day today is. Little secret, this little circle button will choose today automatically. Gives me my drop-down question to see whose class I'm in, and Miss B is my teacher. And then I'm going to click Next. Now I'm on to the second section, or the next page. And again, it's now giving me my multiple choice questions I created. And you see Other, so I can type in that I was actually a big music fan and pretty much never went to my other classes in high school. Then it gives you this video that you could watch, and you can have your...
Hi there, my name is John Green.
John Green is always a big influence of mine. And then we have our paragraph underneath. And then once a student types in here... Don't laugh. And then we'll click Submit. So it tells the person that their response has been recorded. You can actually set this to send them an email confirmation as well if it's that important. Now you can see up at my top I have questions and I have my response pages, and it shows me number 1. So that shows me how many people have responded to my form. Go figure. On this page you can see the summary, or you can see each individual person's responses. Now I have a sample form that I created when I was doing this live with my students at Fanshawe. So the form itself is actually a gigantic mess, but it gives you an example of the responses that we have. So this shows me I had 19 people respond. Sadly, I had 50 people in that class and only 19 of them decided to do this. But again, you can see the summary of responses. So it's going to break down each question as a graph just to show you how everybody's responses played out. And if I click individual, I can go through each of the 19 students' responses and see what each of them did. So I had them rate these dogs and tell me if they were attractive dogs or hideous monsters. And then the other feature that is really handy, depending on how you use your form at least, is the ability to export this to a Google Sheet. Now this is Google's version of Excel, so it's their spreadsheets. And if I click on this, it's going to create a new Google Excel sheet for me essentially, and break out all of my questions into columns, and then have each person's response all the way across. So depending on what you're going to do with this, if you have this as a survey asking people to rate things, or whatever it might be, you could then use this data, start making charts out of it. You could use it for grades, and you can get in some creative uses of these. I've actually created some Google Forms that were rubrics that I use to mark students. So I would create a new form for myself, and I would have the form where I would have my rubric on here. Oops, I don't want to do folder, I want to do form. And I would create a rubric, and then I would mark it as the students go, and then when they'd complete, I'd hit submit, and then I'd create another one. So let's say this is a presentation rubric. My first question, what I would do is I would make this a multiple choice grid, and I always mix up my rows and headers, but bear with me on this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make my life easier. We're going to do this just as a linear scale. So I'm going to say their knowledge, and I'm going to mark this from 0 to level 4. And I can label my my thing here. So this would be a fail, and this would be level 4. And then I can duplicate this. And the next one I could do thinking, communication. I'm trying to remember my kick as I go through. Application. Okay. So something as simple as this, and actually I'm going to add the student's name as a question, just so I type this in. So now for myself, as I go through, I'm going to click on my preview, and I could type in, as my student goes up to the front of the class to start presenting, I can type in their name as they present, I can decide how they did, and then hit submit. And then it gives me the option to submit another response, and now I'm back to this for my next student. And once again, if I go to my responses page, and then go to my create spreadsheet, I could then have a spreadsheet created with all of my marks for this assignment. So I found this to be quite useful for myself. Some people laugh at me, but maybe it's just because I like playing with these kind of tools. Yeah, so that was kind of a longer video than I was planning on, but essentially what we've looked at is how to create a Google form, how to add questions, how to insert media, how to customize it, and the last thing I need to show you before I go is how to share this once you're finished. So let's go back to my getting to know you. And I've sampled it, I've previewed it, and I'm ready to send it out. I need to click on my send button here. And then you have 3 options up at the top. So let's go through these. I can send directly to their email addresses if I want to. Start typing in their names and their emails will show up, especially if they're in your school board. Or if you have Google Groups set up, you could type in the name of the group. So this is good if it's for a couple people, but it's not the most convenient if you're going to send this out to a large group. So the next option you have is a link. So you can copy this link and post it on your Google Classroom, or make a link out of it to share in an email, whatever you'd like. And then you have this button which lets you shorten the link. So Google will use their link shortener to do. And then you also have embed. So if you have a website that you want to embed this form on, you can do that as well. And then once you're ready, you would click send, and it's going to go to their inboxes, or you can post this on your Google Classroom, like I said, and then you're going to have people start completing this so that when they start answering your questions, you're going to see these responses. You can get into the settings and you can start going through what kind of options you want your form to have, whether you want people to only have one response, whether you want them to be able to edit once they're finished. You can decide if you want it to have a progress bar, or if it's a quiz, you can actually shuffle the questions. And then, like I said, in another video, we're going to look a little deeper into this column, or into this tab, which is creating this as a quiz that will mark itself. Alrighty, I think that we've covered everything. So now that we've got to sharing and reviewing responses, I am happy with this one. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, sam@samgoving.com. But otherwise, I hope this makes your life a little bit easier. Thanks for watching. Cheers.